I was just trying to get my baby to stop crying long enough to find my seat on a plane I couldn't afford. My shirt was stained with formula, my hair was 2 days past acceptable, and my soul was running on caffeine and desperation. So no, I didn't look at the man beside me. Not when I accidentally spilled Noah's bottle. Not when I mumbled an apology while dozing off on his shoulder. Not even when my son reached for the lion tattoo crawling up his neck. But when I woke up to him cradling Noah and whispering, "He's ours now," I realized I hadn't just fallen asleep on a stranger. I'd fallen into the arms of Giovanni Enzo, the most dangerous man in New York. The baby wipe tore in half. Of course it did. I was crouched in Terminal B with Noah balanced on one knee, his diaper half changed on a bench that probably violated every health code, when the final boarding call blared overhead. Flight 487 to Chicago. Final boarding at gate B12. My gate. Right now. I scooped up Noah, grabbed the diaper bag that was hemorrhaging pacifiers and crumpled receipts, and ran. Well, speed walked. You can't exactly sprint with a 7-month-old strapped to your chest and yesterday's mascara flaking into your eyes. The gate agent gave me that look, the one that says you're the reason we're delayed. "Cutting it close, Miss Johnson," she said, scanning my boarding pass with the enthusiasm of someone who'd already clocked out mentally. "I know, I'm so sorry." Noah chose that moment to grab a fistful of my hair and yank. Hard. I bit back a yelp and stumbled down the jet bridge, my carry-on bouncing off my hip like it had a personal vendetta. Single motherhood is not the aesthetic they sell you in Instagram reels. It's more like controlled chaos, with occasional moments of rage crying in Target parking lots. By the time I reached my seat 14C, middle row, naturally I was sweating through my blouse. The woman in 14A was already glaring at me. Bluetooth headset, pantsuit, the kind of energy that screamed, "I will report you to corporate if your baby so much as breathes too loud." And 14B? Empty. Thank God. I collapsed into 14C, wrestled Noah into my lap, and tried to catch my breath. The diaper bag exploded across the floor. A bottle rolled under the seat ahead. A pacifier landed on Bluetooth lady's briefcase. "Sorry," I mumbled, snatching it back. She didn't respond, just repositioned her headset and went back to her very important spreadsheet. Fine. I didn't need friends. I needed this flight to be over so I could get to Chicago, attend my cousin's wedding, and pretend for 48 hours that my life wasn't held together by duct tape and prayer. The flight attendant began the safety demonstration. Noah squirmed. I bounced him on my knee, making those ridiculous cooing sounds that only work half the time. Then the cabin door opened one last time, and he walked in. Tall, leather jacket that looked like it cost more than my rent, dark hair slicked back, jawline sharp enough to cut glass. But it was the tattoo crawling up his neck, a roaring lion, fierce and intricate, that made my breath hitch. He moved down the aisle like he owned it. People shifted in their seats. Eyes followed him, and when he stopped at row 14, his gaze dropped to the empty seat beside me. 14B. Of course. He didn't ask permission. He didn't smile. He just lowered himself into 14B, with the kind of controlled grace that made me think of predators and expensive whiskey. I tried not to stare. Failed miserably. Up close, he was even more intimidating. The leather jacket was butter soft, worn in that way that suggested it had seen things. The lion tattoo curved from his collarbone up to his jaw, its eyes almost glowing in the cabin light, and his hands scarred knuckles. A gold signet ring that caught the light rested on his thighs like they were used to holding power. Noah gurgled. The man's eyes flicked to him. Just for a second. Then back to the seat in front of him. I should have looked away. Should have focused on getting Noah settled. But something about this man made the air feel heavier, like the whole plane had tilted slightly in his direction. The flight attendant approached our row, all plastic smiles. "Can I get you anything before takeoff, sir?" "Whiskey." "Neat." His voice was deep, accented. Italian, if I had to guess. The kind of voice that didn't ask twice. She nodded and disappeared. I shifted Noah to my other arm. He was teething, which meant he was also in the grabbing everything phase. I tried to keep his tiny hands occupied with a crinkly book, but he was having none of it. Instead, he lunged sideways, straight for the gold chain glinting at the man's neck. "Noah, no." Too late. Chubby fingers latched onto the chain with surprising strength. I froze. The man froze. For a second, I genuinely thought he might snap. I'd seen enough true crime documentaries to know you don't touch a man like this without consequences. But then his hand moved slow, deliberate, and carefully unwrapped Noah's fingers from the chain. He held it up between us, the pendant catching the light. Some kind of crest. Old, intricate, expensive. He's got good taste, the man said, a hint of amusement in his voice. That necklace costs more than your seat. I should have been offended. Instead, I laughed. A real, full-bodied laugh. The kind that bursts out when you're too exhausted to be polite, when everything is so ridiculous that the only response is to laugh or cry, and you've already done enough crying this week. The man's eyebrow lifted slightly, like he hadn't expected that. Sorry, I managed, still giggling. He's in a grabbing phase. He tried to eat a phone charger yesterday. Better than this. He tucked the chain back under his shirt. That would have been an expensive snack. I grinned. I'll keep him away from your jewelry, I promise. Appreciated. The flight attendant returned with his whiskey. He took it without looking at her, his gaze still on Noah, who was now chewing on his own fist and drooling contentedly. Something softened in the man's expression, just for a heartbeat. Then it was gone, replaced by that same unreadable mask. And I realized I'd just made my first mistake. I'd made the devil smile. The plane took off smoothly, too smoothly, like the universe was setting me up for something. Noah had finally stopped squirming. His little head rested against my chest, his breathing evening out into that soft, snuffly rhythm that meant he was asleep. I cradled him carefully, one hand supporting his back, the other holding the bottle I'd never actually needed. The man beside me, still nameless, still enigmatic, sipped his whiskey and stared out the window like Manhattan's skyline owed him money. I should have been relieved. Silence was good. Silence meant no awkward small talk, no questions about why I was flying alone with a baby, no judgment. But instead, I found myself hyper-aware of him, the way his jaw tightened every few minutes, the way his fingers drummed once against his thigh before going still, the way the leather of his jacket creaked softly when he shifted. The cabin lights dimmed. My eyelids felt like someone had tied weights to them. I'd been running on fumes for weeks between Noah's sleep regression, picking up extra shifts, and trying to keep our tiny apartment from falling apart. Actual rest was a fantasy. Just close your eyes for a second, I told myself. Just a second. The hum of the engines was hypnotic. Noah's warmth against my chest was a sedative. And before I could stop myself, before I could think about how utterly mortifying it would be, my head tilted sideways and landed on something solid. Leather, warmth, the faint scent of cedar, and something darker. His shoulder. I was asleep before I could process the mistake. Somewhere in the fog of unconsciousness, I felt movement. Gentle, deliberate, like someone was adjusting Noah's blanket, making sure it covered his tiny feet. And then a hand, large, scarred, hovered near my son's head. Close enough to touch, close enough to protect. But it didn't. It just stayed there. A silent promise suspended in the air. When the plane hit a patch of turbulence and jolted, I didn't wake. Neither did Noah. Because somehow, impossibly, we both felt safe. Even though I was leaning against a man whose name I didn't know. Even though everything about him screamed danger. Even though, deep down, some primal part of me recognized the truth. I'd just crossed a line I could never uncross. The landing jolted me awake. Wheels hit tarmac. The cabin lights blazed on, and my brain finally caught up to what my body had done. I was draped across a stranger's shoulder like we were on a honeymoon, not a commercial flight to Chicago. I jerked upright so fast, Noah stirred in my arms, letting out a little whimper of protest. "Oh my God," I breathed, my face burning hotter than the surface of the sun. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, I don't usually." The man turned to look at me, and his expression stopped my rambling cold. He wasn't angry. He wasn't annoyed. He was studying me, like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. His dark eyes moved from my face to Noah, and something shifted in his features. Something I couldn't name. "What's his name?" he asked. The question was so unexpected, so gentle, that I answered before thinking. "Noah." "Strong name." "Yeah, I thank you." Why was I thanking him? For letting me drool on his probably very expensive leather jacket? For not shoving me off mid-flight? The plane taxied toward the gate. Around us, passengers were already unbuckling, grabbing bags, flooding the aisle with that desperate energy of people who'd been trapped in a metal tube for 2 hours. But the man didn't move. He was still watching Noah, his gaze fixed on my son's sleepy face, with an intensity that made my stomach flip. "He's ours," he said quietly. I blinked. "What?" "He's ours," he repeated, louder this time. Definitive, like he was stating a fact, not making a suggestion. My heart slammed against my ribs. "I'm sorry, what?" He finally looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw it then, the weight behind those words, the certainty. I clutched Noah tighter, maternal instinct flaring hot and fast. "You don't know me. You don't know him. What are you talking about?" The man leaned closer, his voice dropping to a murmur that only I could hear. "Someone was watching you on this flight. Not me. Not my people. Someone else." The blood drained from my face. "What?" "2 rows back, aisle seat. He took 3 photos of you and your son." I twisted in my seat, scanning the passengers filing out. My hands were shaking. "Why would anyone?" "Because they saw you with me." His words were sharp, precise. "And now they think he's mine." The cabin was emptying. Bluetooth lady had already disappeared. The flight attendants were doing their final checks. "This is insane," I whispered. "You're insane. You're Anna Johnson, 27. You work 2 jobs and live in a 4th-floor walk-up in Brooklyn. Your son is 7 months old. His father ran before he was born." He paused. "Am I wrong?" My blood turned to ice. "How do you, Because the moment you fell asleep, I made a call." He stood, towering over me, and offered his hand. "Come with me, Lily. Both of you. Or by tomorrow morning, someone very dangerous will know exactly where you live." Lily. He'd called me Lily, the nickname only my family used. I stared at his outstretched hand, scarred, powerful, dangerous, and then at Noah, still sleeping peacefully in my arms. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to run, to grab my baby and disappear into the crowd. But the fear in my chest was louder, because if he knew my nickname, my address, my entire life story, what else did he know? And who else did too? I didn't take his hand. But I followed him. What choice did I have? He moved through the terminal like a king. Through a conquered city, people parted without him saying a word. Eyes averted, steps quickened. I hustled after him with Noah clutched to my chest, my diaper bag slapping against my hip with every step. "Wait," I called. "Just wait a second." He didn't stop. Didn't even slow down. I caught up at baggage claim, breathless and furious. "You can't just, who are you? Why would someone be watching me?" He pulled a phone from his jacket, typed something, and pocketed it again. All without looking at me. "Answer me!" My voice cracked, louder than I intended. A few heads turned. That got his attention. He stepped closer, his presence swallowing the space between us. "Keep your voice down." "Or what?" I shot back, though my bravado was paper thin. "You'll what? Kidnap me?" "Because that's what this feels like. If I wanted to kidnap you, Lily, you wouldn't be standing here arguing with me." The way he said my name like he'd earned the right to use it made my skin prickle. "Then what do you want?" "To keep you alive." The carousel groaned to life. Bags tumbled onto the belt. Around us, travelers jockeyed for position, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding 2 feet away. He reached out and grabbed a sleek black suitcase as it passed. Of course his luggage was the first off. Of course it was. "You don't know me," I said, quieter now. "You don't owe me anything. So why?" "Because your son's father is Carlo Rossi." The name hit me like a fist. Carlo. The man who'd ghosted me the second I told him I was pregnant. The man who'd blocked my number, moved apartments, erased himself from my life so completely that I'd wondered if he'd ever existed at all. "How do you—" "Carlo Rossi is my enemy," he said, his voice flat, "which means anyone connected to him is in danger, including you, including Noah." My knees felt weak. I haven't seen Carlo in over a year. I don't know where he is." "Doesn't matter." He nodded toward the exit. "They know you exist now, and they'll use you to get to him. This is insane. Welcome to my world." The SUV was waiting at the curb, black, tinted windows, engine purring like a predator at rest. 2 men in dark suits flanked the vehicle. They didn't speak, didn't smile, just opened the door and waited. "Absolutely not," I said, backing up a step. "I'm not getting in that car." "Yes, you are. You can't make me." His eyes flashed. "You want to test that theory?" Noah whimpered, sensing my tension. I bounced him gently, trying to soothe him while my heart hammered in my chest. "Look," I tried, desperate now. I appreciate the warning, okay? But I can take care of myself. I'll call the police. The police can't protect you from the Rossi family. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. Do you know what they do to loose ends, Lily? To people who know too much or matter too little? They don't leave witnesses. But I don't know anything. You had his child. That's enough. The traffic around us blurred. Car horns, shouting, the smell of exhaust and burnt rubber. Everything felt surreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's nightmare. One of the suited men checked his watch. Boss, we need to move. Boss. Of course he was the boss. Please, I whispered, hating the desperation in my voice. Just let me go. I'll disappear. I'll take Noah, and… Where? He cut me off. Brooklyn? Chicago? They'll find you in hours. Maybe less. Then, what am I supposed to do? Trust me. I almost laughed. Trust him? The tattooed stranger who knew everything about me and had offered exactly 0 explanations? But then I looked at Noah, at his tiny, perfect face, at the way his fingers curled against my shirt, trusting me to keep him safe. And I thought about Carlo, about the way he'd vanished, about the cold, empty apartment I'd returned to, 9 months pregnant and alone. If Carlo had enemies like this, if Noah was in danger because of a man I'd tried so hard to forget, then what choice did I have? If you hurt us, I started. I won't. If you try anything, I won't. I don't even know your name. He held my gaze for a long moment. And then, with the faintest hint of something that might have been amusement, he said, Giovanni Enzo. The name hit me like a second punch. Giovanni Enzo. The Giovanni Enzo. The name whispered in bodegas and news headlines. The Mafia boss who controlled half of New York's underworld. I'd just fallen asleep on the shoulder of the most dangerous man in the city, and now I was about to get in his car. Come on, he said, gentler now. Before they find us. Against every screaming instinct, I climbed into the SUV. The door closed behind me with a heavy, final thunk. And just like that, my old life disappeared into the rearview mirror. The elevator didn't have buttons, just a keycard slot and a fingerprint scanner. Giovanni pressed his thumb to the glass, and we shot upward so fast my ears popped. Noah fussed against my chest. I held him tighter, whispering promises I wasn't sure I could keep. When the doors opened, I forgot how to breathe. The penthouse stretched out like a magazine spread come to life. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. Crystal chandeliers that scattered light like diamonds. Marble floors so polished I could see my reflection. And everywhere men in suits, watching, waiting. This way, Giovanni said, leading me through the sprawling space. I followed numbly, taking in the details. Leather furniture. Abstract art that probably cost more than my entire life. A bar cart stocked with bottles I'd only seen behind locked glass. He stopped at a door and opened it. This is your room. Ensuite bathroom. Anything you need, ask. I stepped inside. The room was bigger than my apartment. A king bed with linens that looked like clouds. A crib already assembled in the corner. A crib. You had this ready, I said slowly. You knew I'd come. I hoped you'd make the smart choice. I turned to face him, anger bubbling up through the fear. This isn't a choice. You backed me into a corner. I gave you options. You picked the one that keeps you breathing. You call this breathing? I gestured around us. This is a prison. This is protection. Same thing to you, apparently. He didn't flinch, didn't argue, just stood there in the doorway, backlit by the hallway, looking every inch the monster people said he was. There's formula in the kitchen, he said finally. Diapers in the closet. Anything else, tell Marco. He nodded to one of the suited men hovering nearby. And you? I asked, my voice smaller than I wanted. Where will you be? His eyes met mine, dark, unreadable, burning with something I couldn't name. Close. And then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. I stood there in the beautiful, suffocating room, holding Noah, and wondered what I'd just walked into. Outside the windows, Manhattan glittered like a promise, but all I felt was the bars closing in. I didn't sleep, couldn't. Every creak, every distant voice, every shadow that passed beneath the door made my pulse spike. I sat in the oversized chair by the window, Noah sleeping against my chest, and watched the city breathe below us. 3 a.m. came and went, then 4. That's when the door opened. I jerked upright, clutching Noah tighter. Who? It's me. Giovanni's voice cut through the darkness, low and steady. He stepped into the room, still wearing his dress shirt but with the sleeves rolled up, the top buttons undone. He looked exhausted, human, almost. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said, though he didn't sound particularly sorry. "What are you doing here?" My voice was hoarse from lack of sleep and too much fear. "Checking on you." "At 4 in the morning?" He moved to the window, standing beside my chair but not looking at me, just staring out at the skyline like it held answers he couldn't find anywhere else. "I don't sleep much," he said finally. "That makes 2 of us." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "You should try. You're safe here." "Safe." I let the word hang between us, bitter and sharp. "That's what you keep saying. But you won't tell me why. You won't tell me what's really happening." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, so softly I almost didn't hear it, "My sister used to sit in that chair. When she couldn't sleep." My breath caught. "Your sister?" "Isabel." He said her name like a prayer, or a wound. "She was 23 when they killed her. The Rossi family. Because she saw something she wasn't supposed to see." The air between us shifted. Suddenly, the penthouse felt smaller, more intimate. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Don't be." She knew what world she lived in. His jaw tightened. "But that doesn't make it right." I looked down at Noah, his tiny chest rising and falling in perfect rhythm. Innocent. Unaware of the darkness surrounding him. "Is that why you're doing this?" I asked. "Because of her?" Giovanni finally turned to look at me. His eyes were shadowed, haunted by ghosts I couldn't see. "I'm doing this because I refuse to let another innocent person die in this war." He paused. "And because when I saw you on that plane, when I saw him, something shifted. I can't explain it. But I knew I couldn't let you walk away." The confession hung in the air, raw and unexpected. "You barely know me," I said. "I know enough." "What does that mean?" He didn't answer, just reached out and, with surprising gentleness, brushed a strand of hair from Noah's forehead. "Sleep, Lily. I'll be outside your door. No one gets through me." And then he was gone again, leaving me alone with his words echoing in the darkness. "No one gets through me." I believed him. That's what terrified me most. Morning light filtered through the curtains, warm and deceptive, like the world outside wasn't on fire. I'd finally dozed off around 5, Noah tucked safely in his new crib. When I woke, panic seized me before I remembered where we were. Giovanni's penthouse, the beautiful prison. I stumbled to the crib, my heart still racing, and found Noah awake and babbling happily to himself. Relief flooded through me. That's when I saw it. On the shelf beside the crib, tucked between stuffed animals and a baby monitor, was a gun. Matte black, compact, lethal. My stomach dropped. I grabbed Noah from the crib and backed away, my mind spinning. A gun. Next to my baby. Next to where he sleeps. I didn't knock, didn't hesitate. I stormed out of the room and down the hall, following the voices until I found Giovanni in what looked like his office. He was on the phone, speaking rapid Italian. When he saw me, fury radiating from every pore, he ended the call immediately. "What?" "There's a gun," I snapped, cutting him off. "In Noah's room, by his crib." Giovanni stood slowly. "Yes." "Yes?" My voice pitched higher. "That's all you have to say? There's a loaded weapon 3 feet from where my son sleeps, and you just yes? It's for protection." "From what? Him?" I gestured to Noah. "He's 7 months old. He can't even crawl yet. It's for you, Lily." Giovanni rounded the desk, his voice calm in a way that made me want to scream. "If someone gets past my men, past me, past every security measure in this building, you need a way to protect him." I stared at him. "You're insane." "I'm prepared. There's a difference. I don't know how to use a gun." "Then I'll teach you." The certainty in his voice stopped me cold. He wasn't joking, wasn't patronizing me. He was dead serious. "This is your world," I said quietly, "not mine. It became yours the moment you got on that plane." He stepped closer, his gaze intense. "I won't apologize for keeping you alive, Lily, even if you hate me for it." Noah chose that moment to reach toward Giovanni, his tiny hands opening and closing. The man who'd just defended putting a gun in my baby's room looked at my son with something that might have been longing, and I hated that I understood. By noon the walls were closing in. I'd tried reading, tried playing with Noah on the soft rug in the living room, tried pretending this was normal. But every time I looked up, there was a man in a suit watching us, protecting us, trapping us. I needed air. "Can I go outside?" I asked Marco, the guard Giovanni had assigned to me. "No. Can I open a window? No. Can I do anything that doesn't involve sitting in this golden cage? He almost smiled. Almost. I'll ask the boss. 20 minutes later, Giovanni appeared. He'd showered, changed into a crisp black shirt that probably cost more than my car. He looked like power personified. You want to leave, he said. Not a question. I want to breathe. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. Rooftop, 10 minutes. The rooftop garden was stunning. Greenery everywhere, fairy lights strung between potted trees, a view that made Manhattan look like a toy city. But what caught my attention was the man standing by the edge. Not a guard, not Marco. Someone new. Someone who made my skin crawl. Giovanni saw him at the same time I did. His entire body went rigid. Marco, he said, his voice deadly soft. How did he get up here? I don't, boss, I swear. The stranger turned, smiled, and pulled out a phone, snapping a photo of Noah in my arms before anyone could stop him. Then he was gone, disappearing through the rooftop door like smoke. Giovanni moved faster than I'd ever seen anyone move. He was at my side in 2 strides, his hand on my back, his body angled between me and where the stranger had been. Inside. Now. Giovanni. Now, Lily. I ran. Marco flanked us. The elevator ride down was suffocating. Back in the penthouse, Giovanni was on his phone, barking orders in Italian. His men scattered like a disturbed hive. The energy in the room crackled with violence barely contained. He hung up and turned to me, his eyes blazing. Did he touch you? No. Did he say anything? No, he took a photo and left. Giovanni's jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought he might put his fist through the wall. This is my fault, he said finally, the words rough. I should have had more security on the roof. I should have. Stop. I stepped closer, surprising both of us. You can't control everything. His eyes met mine, and something shifted. The mask cracked, and beneath it, I saw fear. Not for himself, for us. You're mine to protect, he said, his voice low and fierce. Both of you. I don't care what it costs. I don't care who I have to bury. No one touches you. Do you understand? The possessiveness should have scared me, should have sent me running. Instead, I felt the first spark of something dangerous flickering to life in my chest. I understand. His hand lifted, hesitated, then gently cupped my cheek. Good. That evening, Giovanni found me in the kitchen. I was heating formula, bouncing Noah on my hip, trying to pretend my hands weren't still shaking from the rooftop incident. We need to talk, Giovanni said. I didn't look at him. About what? The fact that someone just photographed my son? Or the fact that you promised we'd be safe? Both. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. But first, I need you to answer something honestly. I finally met his eyes. What? Noah's father. Tell me everything about him. My stomach dropped. Why does it matter? Because the man who was on the roof today? Giovanni's voice went cold. He works for the Rossi family, which means they're looking for you specifically, not just any target. You. The bottle slipped from my hand. Formula splattered across the marble floor. His name, Giovanni pressed. What is it? I swallowed hard. Carlo Rossi. The silence that followed was deafening. Giovanni's expression didn't change, didn't flicker, but something in his eyes went dead. Say that again, he said quietly. Carlo Rossi. We dated for 6 months. When I told him I was pregnant, he disappeared. I haven't heard from him since. Carlo Rossi. Giovanni repeated the name like he was tasting poison. You had a child with Carlo Rossi. I didn't know. My voice cracked. I didn't know who he was. He told me he worked in finance. He was sweet and charming, and a liar. Giovanni pushed off the counter. Everything he told you was a lie, Lily. Every word. Tears burned my eyes. I know that now. Giovanni ran a hand through his hair, a rare break in his composure. When he looked at me again, his expression was unreadable. Do you have any idea what you've done? He asked softly. What I've done? Anger flared hot in my chest. I fell in love with the wrong man. I got pregnant. He left. That's what happened. No. Giovanni stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. What happened is you gave the Rossi family's heir a son. An heir to their legacy. A weakness they'll exploit. A weapon they'll use. My blood ran cold. What are you saying? I'm saying Noah isn't just any baby, Lily. He paused, his next words changing everything. He's the key to ending a war. I stared at Giovanni, my world tilting on its axis. What are you talking about? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he crossed to the window, his silhouette dark against the city lights. 10 years ago, he began, his voice measured. The Rossi family tried to take everything from me. My territory, my businesses, my family. He paused. They almost succeeded. I clutched Noah tighter, sensing where this was going. They killed my father first, made it look like a heart attack. Then they went after my sister. His hands curled into fists. Isabel was collateral damage. Wrong place, wrong time. She saw Carlo execute one of my men. So he killed her too. The room spun. Carlo killed your sister? Yes. The single word carried the weight of 1,000 deaths. And I've been hunting him ever since. But that doesn't— Noah didn't do anything. He's innocent. Giovanni turned to face me, and the look in his eyes made my breath catch. To the Rossi family, Noah is leverage. To Carlo, he's a liability. And to me, he trailed off. To you what? I demanded. To me, he's a choice. Giovanni moved closer, each step deliberate. I could use him to draw Carlo out. Offer a trade the boy for Carlo's head. That's what my men expect. What the families expect. But you won't. I said it like a prayer, not a question. His jaw tightened. No, I won't. Why? Because he's not his father. Giovanni's eyes dropped to Noah, who was still in my arms, blissfully unaware of the storm raging around him. Because using a child makes me no better than the men who killed Isabel. Relief crashed through me so hard my knees almost buckled. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. His voice turned grim. Carlo knows you exist now. That photo from the rooftop, it's already been sent to him. And when he sees his son in my penthouse, in my protection, he'll come for you both. Let him, I said, surprising myself with the venom in my voice. He abandoned us. He doesn't get to claim Noah now. Something flickered in Giovanni's eyes. Respect, maybe. Or something darker. You mean that, he said. Every word. He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him. Then you need to understand what you're choosing, Lily. Staying here means you're under my protection. It means you're part of my world. It means I'm yours. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. The air between us ignited. Giovanni's hand lifted, fingers brushing my jaw with devastating gentleness. Yes. My heart hammered against my ribs. And Noah? He's mine too, not because of who his father is. His thumb traced my cheekbone, but because I choose him. I choose both of you. The possessiveness in his voice should have terrified me. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach. This is insane, I whispered. Most worthwhile things are. Noah squirmed between us, breaking the spell. Giovanni pulled back, but his eyes never left mine. Get some rest, he said, his voice rough. Tomorrow, everything changes. I couldn't sleep. Again. After putting Noah down, I paced the room, replaying Giovanni's words. Carlo knew. Carlo was coming. And somehow, despite everything, I didn't feel afraid. I felt angry. My phone, the one I'd left in my bag and forgotten about, buzzed on the nightstand. I grabbed it, expecting spam or maybe a worried text from my cousin about the wedding I'd missed. Instead, I found 12 messages from an unknown number. My blood turned to ice as I read them. I know where you are. I know who you're with. Did you really think he'd protect you? He's using you, just like I did. Bring me my son, or I'll come take him. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. These messages, they'd been sent over the past week. Before the flight. Before Giovanni. Before I even knew Carlo was dangerous. I stumbled to the door, flinging it open. Marco was there instantly. Get Giovanni, I gasped. Now. 3 minutes later, Giovanni burst into my room, his shirt half-buttoned, gun in hand. What happened? I thrust the phone at him. He's been texting me. For a week. Giovanni's expression darkened as he read. Then he started scrolling, going back further, and further. Lily, he said slowly. When did you get this phone? 2 months ago. Why? He turned the screen toward me, showing a text from 3 months prior. One I'd never seen before. Congratulations on the baby. Let's talk. I didn't get that message, I said. I never saw it. Giovanni's jaw clenched. Because someone intercepted it. Someone who knew Carlo was the father. Someone who wanted to keep you in the dark. The implications hit me like a freight train. You think someone's been monitoring my phone? I think someone's been using you as bait. He handed the phone to Marco. Get this to tech. I want to know every number that's contacted her, every location ping, everything. Marco disappeared. Giovanni turned back to me, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked uncertain. I need to know something, he said. Did you love him, Carlo? The question caught me off guard. I thought I did, but looking back, I shook my head. I don't think I ever really knew him. Good. Why does it matter? His eyes burned into mine. Because I need to know if you'll hesitate when the time comes. If you'll choose him over Noah's safety. Never, I said fiercely. He gave up that right when he ran. Giovanni nodded, something like satisfaction crossing his face. Then we're on the same side. Were we ever not? He smiled a real smile, rare and devastating. No, Lily, we never were. He moved toward the door, then paused. Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me or Marco. Giovanni? He looked back. Thank you, for believing me. His expression softened, always. Morning came with unexpected softness. I woke to the smell of coffee and something sweeter. When I emerged from my room with Noah, I found Giovanni in the kitchen, standing over the stove, cooking. You cook? I blurted. He glanced over his shoulder, a hint of amusement in his eyes. I'm full of surprises. He was making pancakes, actual, from-scratch pancakes, and they smelled incredible. Sit, he ordered, nodding to the breakfast bar. I obeyed, too stunned to argue. He plated the pancakes with surprising care, then poured me coffee made exactly how I liked it. How did you know? I pay attention. The domesticity of the moment was jarring. Here was the most dangerous man in New York, making me breakfast like we were a normal couple. Like he hadn't threatened to use my son as bait less than 12 hours ago. You're staring, he said. You're confusing. He set down his own mug, his expression shifting to something more guarded. How so? 1 minute you're all cold and terrifying, talking about wars and enemies. The next you're making me pancakes. I gestured helplessly. I don't know which version is real. Both. He held my gaze. I'm both, Lily. The monster and the man. You don't get one without the other. That's not fair. No, he agreed. It's not, but it's the truth. Noah babbled from his carrier, reaching for the pancakes. Giovanni's expression softened instantly, the transformation so complete it stole my breath. Can I? He asked, nodding to Noah. I hesitated, then nodded. Giovanni moved around the counter, crouching beside the carrier. He didn't reach for Noah immediately. Instead, he just watched him, studied him, like he was memorizing every detail. He has your eyes, Giovanni said quietly. And Carlo's nose, apparently. I don't see Carlo when I look at him. His voice was fierce. I only see you. The words hung between us, heavy with meaning. Giovanni. Don't. He stood abruptly, the walls slamming back into place. Don't make this more complicated than it already is. He left the kitchen without another word, leaving me alone with cold pancakes and the echo of the most honest thing he'd ever said. I only see you. It happened that afternoon. I was struggling. Noah was teething, screaming at a pitch that could shatter glass, and nothing I did helped. Not the teething ring, not the cold washcloth, not the desperate bouncing that was destroying my back. I was on the verge of tears myself when Giovanni appeared in the doorway. Give him to me, he said. What? You're exhausted. Give him to me. I stared at him. This man, this dangerous, complicated, beautiful disaster of a man was offering to hold my screaming baby. You don't have to. I know. He stepped closer, hands already reaching. But I want to. Something in his expression made me trust him. I transferred Noah into his arms, expecting him to fumble, to panic when the crying didn't stop. But Giovanni didn't panic. He cradled Noah against his chest, one hand supporting his head, the other rubbing slow circles on his back. Then he started humming low and melodic, something in Italian that sounded like a lullaby. Noah's cries softened, hiccuped, then stopped altogether. My jaw dropped. How did you? My mother used to sing this to Isabel, Giovanni said quietly, still swaying, when she couldn't sleep. The grief in his voice made my chest ache, but there was something else too, something tender and raw and utterly devastating. He looked down at Noah, who was now staring up at him with wide, curious eyes, and Giovanni smiled a real, unguarded smile that transformed his entire face. "He's perfect," Giovanni whispered, more to himself than to me. "Absolutely perfect." I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, because watching this hardened killer hold my baby like he was made of glass and stardust was doing something dangerous to my heart. "Giovanni." He looked up, and the emotion in his eyes nearly brought me to my knees. "I meant what I said, Lily. He's mine. Not because of Carlo. Not because of some twisted revenge plan." His voice cracked, just slightly. "But because when I hold him, I remember what it feels like to want to protect something more than I want to destroy." A tear slipped down my cheek. "You're going to make me fall for you." His smile turned sad. "I'm counting on it." That night, Giovanni called me to his office. The room was all dark wood and leather, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a desk that looked like it had witnessed 1,000 sins. He was pouring whiskey when I entered, his back to me. "Close the door," he said. I did, my heart picking up speed. "What's this about?" He turned, offering me a glass. I shook my head. He shrugged and downed both. "I have a proposal," he said finally. "I'm listening. Stay with me, not as a prisoner or a guest, as..." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "As mine, permanently." My breath caught. "What does that mean?" "It means I protect you and Noah openly. It means the entire underworld knows you're under my claim. It means Carlo can't touch you without starting a war he'll lose." He set down the empty glasses. "But it also means you can't leave. Not until this is over." "And when will it be over?" His expression darkened. "When Carlo is dead." The words should have horrified me. Instead, I felt only a cold satisfaction. "What do you get out of this?" I asked. Giovanni moved closer, each step deliberate. "You. Both of you. In my life. In my home." He stopped inches away. "In my bed, if you'll have me." Heat flooded my cheeks. "That's very presumptuous." "Is it?" His hand lifted, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me you don't lie awake thinking about what it would be like. Tell me, Lily, and I'll walk away." I couldn't, because he was right. Every word. "This is insane," I whispered. "So you keep saying, you're a criminal." "Yes. You've probably killed people. Many people. I should run screaming." "You should." His thumb traced my bottom lip. "But you won't." "Why are you so sure?" "Because you're just as tired of running as I am." His forehead touched mine, his breath warm against my skin. "Because when you look at me, you see the same thing I see when I look at you." "What's that?" "Home." The word broke something inside me. Tears burned my eyes. "Giovanni. Say yes, Lily. Stay with me. Let me protect you. Let me..." His voice cracked. "Let me be the man I was before this life turned me into a monster." I pulled back just enough to meet his eyes, and in them, I saw everything he wasn't saying. The loneliness, the longing, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, he could be more than his worst choices. "Okay," I breathed. "Okay? Yes, I'll stay." His smile was blinding, and then he was kissing me fierce and desperate and absolutely perfect. And I kissed him back, sealing the deal that would change everything. He took me to the rooftop that night. Not the garden where the stranger had found us, this was different. Higher, more private. The kind of place that felt like it existed outside the world. The city sprawled below us, a million lights promising a million different lives. But up here, it was just us, and the stars and the weight of everything unsaid. "I used to come here with Isabel," Giovanni said, his voice soft in the darkness. "She loved the view, said it made her feel small in the best way." I moved to stand beside him at the railing. "Tell me about her." He was quiet for so long I thought he might not answer. Then, "She was 23, studying art history. She wanted to open a gallery, showcase artists nobody had heard of yet." A sad smile touched his lips. "She was too good for this family, too pure. But she loved us anyway." "What happened?" I asked gently. Giovanni's hands gripped the railing, knuckles white. "She was supposed to be at dinner with our mother, but she forgot her purse at the warehouse, one of our legitimate businesses, or so I thought. When she went back to get it, she walked in on Carlo executing one of my men who'd tried to leave the family." My stomach turned. "Giovanni." She screamed. Carlo turned, and before anyone could stop him, he shot her. His voice broke. She was dead before she hit the ground. Tears streamed down my face. "I'm so sorry." I found her 20 minutes later. She was still warm. Still. He stopped, unable to continue. I reached for his hand, lacing our fingers together. He gripped me like I was the only thing keeping him anchored. I made a vow that night, he continued, his voice steadier now, that I would burn the Rossi family to the ground, that I would make Carlo pay for every second of life he stole from her. And I've spent 10 years keeping that promise. Until now, I said quietly. Until now. He turned to face me, his eyes reflecting the city lights. When I saw you on that plane, when I realized who you were connected to, I thought fate had finally given me the weapon I needed, Carlo's child, the leverage I'd been waiting for. But you changed your mind. No, his hand lifted to cup my face. You changed it for me. You and Noah. You reminded me that revenge isn't the same as justice. That becoming a monster to kill monsters makes you exactly what you're fighting against. So what now? I asked. What happens with Carlo? Giovanni's expression hardened. He'll come for you. For Noah. And when he does, I'll be waiting. But I won't use either of you as bait. I won't sacrifice innocence for vengeance. He paused. Isabel wouldn't have wanted that. She sounds like she was an incredible person. She was. You would have liked her. A genuine smile touched his lips. She would have loved you. And Noah? She would have spoiled him rotten. I leaned into his touch, feeling the warmth of his palm against my cheek. I wish I could have met her. Me too. We stood there in the darkness, the city breathing below us, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something like peace. Thank you, I whispered, for telling me. Giovanni pulled me closer, pressing a kiss to my forehead. Thank you for listening. And beneath the stars, wrapped in the arms of a beautiful monster, I finally understood what Giovanni had meant. This wasn't just protection. This wasn't strategy or leverage or survival. This was something far more dangerous. This was love. The warning came from an unexpected source. I was in the kitchen 3 days after the rooftop, making Noah's bottle, when one of Giovanni's men approached. Not Marco, someone older, with silver threading through his dark hair and scars that told stories I didn't want to hear. Miss Johnson, he said quietly. A word? I glanced around. Giovanni was in a meeting. Marco was outside the door. We were alone. What is it? He moved closer, his voice dropping. I've worked for Giovanni for 15 years. I've seen him with many women, but none like you. My cheeks flushed. I don't know what you... He's different with you. Softer. Distracted. His eyes were grave. And that's going to get him killed. The bottle slipped in my hands. What are you saying? I'm saying women like you don't leave men like him alive. You make him weak. You make him vulnerable. And in our world, vulnerability is death. He paused. So I'm asking you, begging you don't fall for him. Because the moment you do, the moment he lets his guard down completely, Carlo will strike. And Giovanni won't see it coming. My throat tightened. You think I'm a liability. I think you're dangerous in ways you don't understand. His expression softened slightly. I know you care about him. I see it in how you look at him. But caring isn't enough. This world doesn't forgive weakness. It exploits it. Then what am I supposed to do? My voice cracked. Leave? If you love him, yes. The words hit me like a slap. That's not fair. No, but it's honest. He straightened, his professional mask sliding back into place. Think about it, Miss Johnson, before it's too late for both of you. He left as quietly as he'd arrived, leaving me alone with the terrible truth of his words. That night, when Giovanni reached for my hand across the dinner table, I pulled away. When he asked what was wrong, I lied. And when he kissed my forehead before leaving for another late-night meeting, I memorized the feeling. Because maybe the scarred man was right. Maybe loving Giovanni Enzo was the most dangerous thing I could do. It happened on a Tuesday. Giovanni had been distant all day, short responses, clipped orders, that dangerous energy that meant someone somewhere had made a fatal mistake. His men gave him a wide berth. Even Marco looked nervous. I found him in his study past midnight, nursing whiskey and staring at papers I couldn't read. You should be asleep, he said without looking up. So should you. I don't sleep much. I've noticed. I moved into the room, closing the door behind me. What happened? Nothing you need to worry about. Giovanni. Leave it, Lily. His voice was sharp. This isn't your world. These aren't your problems. The dismissal stung. Then why am I here? He finally looked up, and the exhaustion in his eyes nearly brought me to my knees. Because I'm a selfish bastard who can't let you go. The confession hung in the air, raw and honest. I crossed to him, my heart hammering. Then don't. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I stood before him, close enough to touch. You're terrified. Not of Carlo or the Rosses or any of your enemies. You're terrified of this. Of us. His jaw clenched. I have good reason to be. Why? Because everyone I've ever loved ends up dead. The words exploded from him, years of grief and rage pouring out. My father, my sister, every person who's ever mattered, they're gone. Because of me. Because loving me is a death sentence. Tears burned my eyes. Giovanni. So yes, Lily, I'm terrified. Because looking at you, holding Noah, imagining a life where I get to keep you, it's the most dangerous thing I've ever done. I reached for his face, forcing him to meet my eyes. Then we'll be dangerous together. Something in him broke. He surged to his feet, his hands framing my face, and kissed me like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. I kissed him back with everything I had, all the fear and hope and desperate, foolish love that had been building since the moment I woke up on his shoulder. His hands moved to my waist, pulling me closer. I grabbed his shirt, needing him closer still. The kiss deepened, turned hungry, urgent, and then he pulled away. No, he breathed, his forehead pressed to mine. No, we can't. Giovanni. You don't want to love me, Lily, his voice cracked. I'm not the hero of this story. I'm the villain pretending he deserves a happy ending. That's not true. It is. He stepped back, putting distance between us. And one day, you'll wake up and realize what I've known all along. That I'm exactly the monster everyone says I am. He left before I could argue. Left me standing there with kiss-swollen lips and a heart breaking for a man who refused to believe he deserved to be loved. It happened at dawn. I woke to silence. Not the comfortable quiet of early morning, but the wrong kind. The kind that made my skin prickle and my heart race before my brain understood why. I ran to the crib. Empty. Noah. My voice pitched high, panicked. Noah. I tore through the room, checking the bathroom, under the bed, behind furniture places a 7-month-old couldn't possibly be. But terror wasn't rational. I flung open the door. The hallway was empty. No guards. No Marco. Nothing. Giovanni. I ran barefoot through the penthouse, screaming his name. Found him in the living room, surrounded by his men, all armed, all grim-faced. Where is he? I demanded. Where's my baby? Giovanni turned, and the devastation in his eyes told me everything. No, I whispered. No, no, no. They took him. His voice was hollow. 30 minutes ago. Breached the security system. Killed 2 of my men. And took him. My knees gave out. Giovanni caught me before I hit the floor, pulling me against his chest as the world spun out of control. Get him back, I sobbed into his shirt. Please, Giovanni, get him back. I will. His arms tightened around me. I swear on my sister's grave, I will bring him home. Marco appeared in the doorway, blood on his shirt. Boss, we found the breach point. Service elevator. They had inside help. Giovanni's entire body went rigid. Who? Still checking. But whoever it was knew our protocols, knew our blind spots. Find them. Giovanni's voice dropped to something subhuman. Find them and bring them to me alive. I don't care who they are. I don't care what family they belong to. They're mine now. The men scattered like startled birds. Giovanni pulled back, gripping my shoulders. Lily, listen to me. I need you to stay calm. I need you to think. Did Noah have anything on him? Anything that could help us track him? My mind raced. His blanket. The blue one. I sewed a tracker into it. His eyes widened. You what? After the rooftop incident, I was scared. So I bought a cheap tracker online and sewed it into his favorite blanket. He always sleeps with it. For the first time since I'd met him, Giovanni looked at me with something like awe. You brilliant, paranoid, perfect woman. He barked orders at his tech team. Within minutes, they had a location. An abandoned warehouse in Queens, Rossi territory. It's a trap, Marco warned. They want you to come. Good. Giovanni checked his gun with deadly precision. Because I'm bringing hell with me. He started to leave. I grabbed his arm. Let me come with you. Absolutely not. He's my son. Tears streamed down my face. I won't sit here while you please, Giovanni. Please don't make me wait. He cupped my face, his thumb brushing away my tears. If something happens to me, You take Noah and you run. There's a safe house in Vermont, coordinates in my desk. Money, documents, everything you need. Promise me, Lily. Don't talk like that. Promise me. I promise, I choked out. He kissed me hard and desperate and final. Then he was gone, taking half his men and all my hope with him. I collapsed on the couch, hugging myself, praying to gods I'd stopped believing in years ago. Please, please bring him back. Bring them both back. I set down the diaper bag. I need to know something first, I said. Giovanni's expression was carefully blank. What? The flight, the timing, the fact that you knew everything about me. I stepped closer. It wasn't coincidence, was it? His silence was answer enough. Tell me the truth, Giovanni. All of it. He ran a hand through his hair, a rare tell of his nerves. You want the truth? Fine. I've been tracking Carlo for months. When I discovered he had a child, I had my people find the mother. Find you. The floor tilted beneath me. You knew who I was before the flight. Yes. You arranged for us to sit together. Yes. The person watching us. One of my men, making sure you stayed close enough for me to intervene. I staggered back. This was all a setup. The protection, the penthouse, everything. It was about getting to Carlo. At first? Yes. Giovanni's voice was raw. I thought I could use you as bait, draw him out, end this war once and for all. And then you fell asleep on my shoulder. His eyes met mine, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. And when I looked at Noah, I didn't see Carlo's son. I saw an innocent baby who deserved better than to be a pawn in my revenge. I saw a woman who'd been abandoned and betrayed, who was fighting like hell to give her son a good life. So you lied to me, I said bitterly. You manipulated me. I protected you. His voice rose. Carlo would have found you eventually. The Rosses would have used you. I got there first. That doesn't make it right. No, it doesn't. He moved closer, his expression tortured. I lied to you, Lily. I manipulated circumstances to get you close to me. But I never. His voice cracked. I never expected to fall in love with you. That wasn't part of the plan. I wanted to be furious, wanted to hate him for the deception. But I'd seen him hold Noah, seen him torture a man to save my son, seen him offer me freedom even though it was killing him. How much of it was real? I whispered. All of it. Every moment since that flight, every word I've said about protecting you, about caring for Noah, about... He swallowed hard. About loving you. That was real, Lily. That's the only thing that's ever been completely real in my life. I stood there, caught between rage and understanding, between running and staying, between safety and love. You should have told me, I said finally. I know. You should have given me the choice. I know. I should walk away right now and never look back. I know. His eyes glistened. But please don't. I looked at the elevator, then at Giovanni, then down at Noah, sleeping peacefully against my chest. My son. Safe because of this man. Loved because of this man. Protected because of this man. A man who'd lied to me, manipulated me, brought me into his violent world. But also a man who'd risked everything to save Noah. Who'd offered me freedom even when it destroyed him. Who'd shown me more loyalty in weeks than Noah's real father had in months. Tell me something, I said quietly. If I hadn't fallen asleep on your shoulder, if we'd never connected on that flight, would you have gone through with it, using us as bait? Giovanni was quiet for a long moment. Then, honestly, I don't know. The man I was 2 months ago? Probably. But looking at you now. His voice broke. I can't imagine a version of myself that wouldn't protect you. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. He stepped closer, his hand hovering near my face but not touching. I'm not going to lie to you anymore, Lily. Not about who I am or what I've done. I'm a killer. A criminal. A man with blood on his hands and sins I'll never wash clean. But I'm also a man who's willing to die to keep you and Noah safe. A man who's willing to walk away if that's what's best for you. And if I stay? I asked. What happens then? Then I spend every day proving I'm worthy of that choice. I build you a life where you and Noah are protected, cherished, loved. I teach him to be better than me, to have my strength without my violence. He stopped, emotion choking his words. I become the man you make me want to be. Tears streamed down my face. You can't promise that. No, but I can try. And I will try, Lily, every single day for the rest of my life, if you'll let me. I looked at Noah again, at his perfect, peaceful face, then at Giovanni, this broken, beautiful, dangerous man who'd somehow become my home. The smart choice was clear: leave, disappear, give Noah a normal life far from mafia wars and blood-stained floors. But when had I ever been smart? I'd fallen asleep on a stranger's shoulder. I'd climbed into his SUV. I'd let him into my heart and my life and every sacred corner of my world. And I'd do it all again. We're not a mistake, Giovanni, I said softly, walking toward him. Not anymore. His eyes widened. Lily, maybe we started as one. Maybe your plan was manipulation and mine was survival. But what we became. I stopped in front of him, close enough to feel his heat. That's real. That's ours. And I'm not walking away from it. You're sure? His voice was barely a whisper. I'm terrified, but I'm sure. Giovanni's hands framed my face, his touch reverent. I don't deserve you. Probably not. I smiled through my tears. But you're stuck with me anyway. He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promises I hoped he could keep. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. He's going to be the luckiest kid in the world, Giovanni murmured. Growing up with you as his mother. And you as his father. Giovanni pulled back, his eyes searching mine. You mean that? I looked at this man who'd fought hell for my son. Who'd held us both like we were his entire world. Who'd given us everything, even when it cost him his soul. I mean that, I whispered. We're yours, Giovanni. Both of us. Completely. And finally, he smiled. Not the dangerous smirk or the calculated expression, but a real, genuine, devastating smile that promised forever. Then let's go home, he said, gathering both Noah and me into his arms. And we did. Together.